Okay, Paji.
Can I start? Okay.
Yeah.
ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरुः सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरुः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So we have started one of the most important Advaita Granthas of Adi Shankaracharya, and that is the Dakshinamurti-stotram. And I gave quite a detailed introduction on Dakshinamurti-stotram in the last session. The only thing I want to recapitulate today is that Dakshinamurti-stotram is considered to be one of the Prakarana Granthas, an Advaita Prakarana Grantha. Prakarana Grantha means it is a whole Grantha by itself, because Dakshinamurti Stotram gives the entire teaching of all the Upanishads in one capsule of about 10 verses. And it is generally said that Dakshinamurti Stotram is something which has to be studied after having studied a few Upanishads. But if we have studied the Viveka Chudamani, if we have studied at least one Upanishad, which we have done so far, the Kathopanishad, and of course Bhagavad Gita, then Dakshinamurti Stotram is going to be like an initiator for us to go further into more and more Upanishads. And Dakshinamurti Stotram is a very, very subtle work. It's a very, very serious work. Though it is the very, very crux of the teaching of Vedanta, the way the facts have been put forth by Adi Shankaracharya, it looks as if it is difficult to understand. But it is not so. If it is properly explained, then on the basis of what we have studied so far and what we have understood so far, it is not going to be that difficult. Of course, some people tell me that sometimes I repeat. Repetition is very necessary in Vedanta teaching because the subject is very subtle, and everyone who's listening may not be equally exposed to Vedanta, and therefore it is very necessary to repeat some of the things which are talked about, because Vedantic truths are something which probably we are exposed to for the first time, and then it takes us some time to digest these things which are talked about by Vedanta. And therefore, repetition is not a defect here. Repetition is an effort on the part of the speaker or the guru in the Gurukulam to make this very, very subtle and difficult subject to internalize better, to understand better. And Dakshinamurti Stotram, again being a little hard nut to crack, you may find that I am going slow and also sometimes I may be repeating. But you will have to bear with me, because if I just say it once and go forward, I can do that. but it may not be appreciated or understood by everybody. Therefore, I'm going to take it as, for me myself, I'm going to take it as something which I need to repeat myself to understand what it is myself. And therefore, I request all of you to kindly bear with me if there are any repetitions. This I'm specifically saying, especially for Dakshinamurti-stotram. And Dakshinamurti-stotram, as I said, is not only a prakarana grantha, but it is also a stotra to invoke the grace of God or Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti, we saw, is considered the Adi Guru. We can even say Anadi Guru. A guru who had no Adi, who is the very first who started the Sampradaya of Brahma Vidya teaching. Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Krit is called. That is, this tradition of teaching Brahma Vidya from Guru to a Shishya, from Guru to a Shishya, using the Pramana of Vedanta is something. Veda Pramana or Vedanta Pramana is actually a tradition. And Vedanta has to be taught in the same tradition. There is no scope for innovativeness in teaching of Vedanta. I have to give it the same way as I have received from my Guru, because the teachings of Vedanta are so subtle and so important that I cannot have a system of my own to give this teaching, because I may create problems for the listener. Therefore, in Vedanta, the teaching is given as it is received from the Guru. This is what is called as the Brahma Vidya Sampradaya, and Bhagwan Dakshinamurti, who is nothing but a manifestation of Lord Shiva. As our Pujya Swamiji says, Shiva Tattva, that Brahman, that knowledge manifested itself in the form of a guru and then created this sampradaya, and it passed through hundreds of gurus, and now my guru is the link for me, the ultimate link for me to connect to all the previous acharyas. And therefore, Dakshinamurti Stotram is used to invoke the blessings of Lord Shiva as the Adi Guru in making this learning possible. And as I said, that Dakshinamurti Stotram does not start with what we have started. It starts later with Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari, which we will see. But it being a stotra and it being something where we can invoke the grace of Lord Dakshinamurti, some dhyana shlokas have been introduced. The dhyana shlokas are not a part of the main Dakshinamurti stotram. Dakshinamurti stotram contains only 10 verses, whereas the first 6 verses, which we see before the actual teaching starts, are the verses which are actually dhyana shlokas. And the dhyana shlokas are the ones which are added by other writers like Sureshwaracharya and others. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, we had the dhyana shlokas in Bhagavad Gita which were not a part of the main text of Bhagavad Gita. And in the last session, we started looking into the very first dhyana shloka where Dakshinamurti is worshipped, or the Guru and the Shishyas offer their namaskaras to Dakshinamurti and then expect or invoke the blessings of Dakshinamurti so that the teaching goes on well from the part of the teacher, and the receiving of this teaching happens well on the part of the Shishya also. And therefore, I said it is always chanted together by the Guru and the Shishyas, especially when very terse Vedantic texts like Brahma Sutras are taught in the Gurukulam. Now let us see what the first verse says. First verse is not the verse of the main stotram, but the dhyana shlokam, which we started last time, but I had to cut short because of lack of time. So we'll start it all over today from the very first verse. So, Om मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वर्षिष्ठान्तेव सदृशिगणैः आवृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे दक्षिणामूर्तिम् ईडे. I worship, I offer my namaskaras to Lord Dakshinamurti. Who's this Dakshinamurti? So, all the attributes of Dakshinamurti are explained here. What kind of a Dakshinamurti is it that I am offering my namaskaras to invoke the blessing? I told you in the last session also various depictions of Dakshinamurti as to what Dakshinamurti carries in his four upper limbs, how Dakshinamurti is sitting, what is he wearing on his head. Again, when we come to one of the verses of Dakshinamurti, in the description of Ashtamurti, we will see again the physical form of Dakshinamurti. So we saw the physical form of Dakshinamurti. Why are we worshipping the physical form? It is a Saguna Ishvara Upasana or Saguna Brahma Upasana. Only as Upasana. For the purposes of worship, for the purposes of Upasana, this Nirguna Brahman is given a particular form, and this form of Adiguru is appearing in the form of Ashtamurti Rupa Dakshinamurti. We'll see that when we come to that later. So, who is this Dakshinamurti? He says, Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. This young teacher, Yuva, to that young teacher, Dakshinamurti, I give my namaskaras, offer my namaskaras. Who is this Dakshinamurti? The one who has clearly expressed or communicated the Brahma Tattvam, Parabrahma Tattvam. What is this Parabrahma means? That consciousness which is unlimited, that consciousness which is not limited by time, space, and objects. That means what? It is this Atma or consciousness or Brahman which is timeless, which is Nityam, which is not limited by space, so it is Sarvagatam, and which is not limited by any other object, Ekam Advayam. So this Ekam, Advayam, Sarvagatam, consciousness, that Tattvam, what is that consciousness? What is it? What is that Tattvam? What is the reality? What is the Swarupam of this Parabrahma Tattvam? That is what is Prakati Karoti. That is communicated by this young person, resplendent young Dakshinamurti sitting there, and who's teaching a group of rishis who are surrounding him. And what kind of an explanation or communication is this? Here he says, Mauna Vyakhya, Maunam Vyakhyanam. What is the meaning of Maunam Vyakhyanam? That means, actually, if you take the Vachartha, if you take the word to word meaning, it means Dakshinamurti is conveying that Parabrahma Tattvam silently. Now we have to understand one thing. When we say that this Brahma Tattvam is communicated silently, we have to understand that communication is something which has to be communicated by words, at least initially. The teacher may be adept at giving this knowledge without any words. Non-verbal communication may be possible for a guru, but what about the shishyas? Are we capable of understanding the non-verbal communication of the Guru? Verbal communication itself is so difficult for us to understand when it comes to Parabrahma Tattvam. So, does it mean that Dakshinamurti Guru gave this without speaking anything? That means I sit here for 1 hour without talking. You sit there in front of your mobiles or laptops without hearing anything. Is the knowledge going to be transferred in any way? It's not going to be. Therefore, what is the meaning of Maunam Vyakhyanam? It means that whatever cannot be objectified by words, what is it that is being taught? Parabrahma Tattvam. Parabrahma Tattvam is the subtlest thing. It is not a matter principle. It is pure consciousness. It is not objectified by words. Therefore, it has to be explained in a very different way, and that is what is called as Lakshanataya, Lakshyartha. We saw that in Vivek Chudamani also. How Parabrahma Tattvam, how the Mahavakyam is explained using the Lakshyartha, not the Vachyartha. Because Brahman or consciousness is not some object in front of me which I can express like in a classroom, a particular thing is demonstrated by a teacher by showing it. It is not possible to show like that. We have already seen that this consciousness is something which is not an object of perception because it is me myself. I, the very subject itself, is this Atma, this Brahman, this Parabrahma Tattvam. And therefore, if this Parabrahma Tattvam has to be explained, it has to be explained not like the usual explanation which we give for other objects, but it has to be explained indirectly by implication, which is called as explanation by Lakshartha. If you remember, in Viveka Chudamani, we saw implied way of explanation can be done in 3 ways: Jahati Lakshana, Ajahati Lakshana, Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Those who are interested should go back to Viveka Chudamani and listen to that. Here, we already saw that Atma Tattvam, Brahma Tattvam is explained by using what is called as the Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. That means what? Bhagavan Dakshinamurti is talking about this Parabrahma Tattvam not directly as to demonstrating something which is there in front, saying that, look, this is a flower, these are the petals, this is this, like how a botany teacher would hold a specimen and then point out different parts. Like in a medical college, how a specimen is held in front of the student and the demonstrator points out all the parts and says, this is this. This is not that kind of a teaching. Vedanta is a teaching where Lakshanataya Parabrahman is explained. Therefore, Mauna Vyakhya or Maunam Vyakhyanam means that the teacher is explaining to the Shishyas all about this Brahman in an implied manner, in an indirect manner, which normally is not used. This is called as Lakshanataya explanation. Lakshanataya prakatīkaroti. Maunam Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam means Parat Brahma Tattvam, this Dakshinamurti, Adi Guru, Prakatī conveys or communicates how? By Maunam Vyakhyanam or by indirect or Lakshana Vritti, not by the regular Shabda Pravritti, but by Lakshana Vritti he communicates. Words are necessary to communicate the Lakshana Vritti also. Words are necessary to communicate Shabda Pravritti also. Then what is the difference? The way it is communicated is different. Words are used in a different way to communicate about that Atma Tattvam, which is nothing but I, myself. This is meant by Maunam Vyakhyanam. And who's this who's teaching? You are a very young teacher. After all, Dakshinamurti is just a physical manifestation of that Ajaha Nitya Shashvataha Puranaha Brahma Tattvam. Therefore, this Dakshinamurti is ever young, Shashvatoyam Puranaha. And who is he surrounded by? Varshishta Ante Vasad Rishiganaihi. He is surrounded by all aged rishis. Varshishta Ante Vasad Rishiganaihi. All the old rishis, Ante Vasat means what? The Ante Vasis, those who are living in the Gurukulam of Guru Dakshinamurti. Who are they? Sanakadi Maharishis, the Manasaputras of Chaturmukha Brahma. And who are they? They are here taken to be Varshishta Ante Vasad Rishiganaihi Avritam. And who are they? Brahmanishtaihi. These rishis are not only old, but they are Brahmanishtas. Now, these two words, Varshishta and Brahmanishta, we have to understand. Varshishta Ante Vasad Rishiganaihi Avritam, who this Dakshinamurti is surrounded. What is the meaning of old? Old here means we are all very old as jivas. A jiva, because it has traveled millions and millions and millions of lives and bodies, from creations to creations it has traveled. Therefore, this body may be X number of years old, but this jiva which has traveled is a vriddha jiva, very, very old jiva. Therefore, as jivas, we are all very, very old. So, Varshishta ante vasad rishiganai avritam Dakshinamurtim ide. So, all these are not only old by age, the oldness or older, whatever is the seniority can be, they can be vayovriddhas, they can be jnana vriddhas, and they can be, as jivas, we are all vriddhas. So here they are old vayovriddhas also. And to some extent, Jnana Vriddhas also, because they chose the Nivritti Margam to come to Dakshinamurti, who prayed to that Lord Shiva to come and give this teaching. And Lord Shiva appeared in the form of Dakshinamurti. So they are Jnana Vriddhas, they are Tapo Vriddhas, they are Vayo Vriddhas, at the same time they are Brahmanishtas. If they are Brahmanishtas already, why do they need this knowledge? What is Brahmanishta? Sthita Prajna is a Brahmanishtaha. So if they're already Brahmanishtaha, do they need to come to Dakshinamurti for this knowledge? They are already Mukta Purushas. Then why have they come here? This Brahmanishta here means Saguna Brahma Upasana, they have done enough. Enough of Chitta Shuddhi has happened. Enough of Upasanataya Chitta Naishchalyam has happened. Enough of tapas has gone. Therefore, they are Brahmanishtas, Saguna Brahmanishtaha, prepared for this knowledge. This is the meaning of Avritam Brahmanishtaihi. And who is the Acharya here? Who is this Dakshinamurti to whom we are offering our pranams? Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudram Ananda Rupam. Acharya Indram, the greatest of the Acharyas, is Dakshinamurti. When we have to show something is very exalted, we add the name Indra after the name. Devendra, the most exalted among Devas, Indra. Acharyendra, That means highly exalted than the foremost again among acharyas. So Acharyendra, who is Dakshinamurti? The highest, the most exalted Adi Guru, Acharyendra. He is the first of the acharyas. Therefore, he is the Acharyendra. Karakalita Chinmudram Ananda Rupam. Whatever may be the pictorial and sculptural representation of Lord Dakshinamurti, the three arms may show different things, but the right lower arm showing Chinmudra is constant. Because the very characteristic of Lord Dakshinamurti is this Chinmudra. That means, what is Dakshinamurti teaching? Jiva Brahma Aikyam he is teaching. Chin mudra is a mudra or a hand gesture which indicates the oneness or the abheda between Jiva and Brahman, between Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva Brahma Abheda is indicated by this particular mudra called as Angushta Tarjani Yoga. When Angushta and Tarjani come together, the tips come together, there is a full circle which is formed. And this shows that there is no difference between Jiva and Ishvara. Where does Jiva start and where does Ishvara start? It's a circle. So there is a full circle where Jiva and Ishvara cannot be differentiated. Of course, there are a lot of other explanations of this Chin Mudra, and of course, this may not be the right time to talk about the Chin Mudra fully, but a few points what we can say is Angushtam is considered to be Paramatma, representative of Paramatma, not considered representative of Paramatma, because Angushtam can exist independently without the other fingers. And the other fingers are useless unless the Angushtam is there. Try to do all your work by only the four fingers without Angushtam. It's not possible. Angushtam is supporting all the other four fingers to do all their activities. That's why Ekalavya was asked for his Angushtam, because what can he do? What archery can he do with four fingers? Cannot do anything. Therefore, Angushtam is independent. It can exist by itself. Without its support, the other four cannot work. What are these other fours represent? The Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, Ahankara. These four, which are the Anatma, cannot exist, cannot function. Exist means they may exist even when this is taken off, but then they cannot function effectively. So it is said that when I, the Ahankara or the Jiva, understands the Tarjani or the Jiva, understands that I am neither the Sthula Shariram, nor the Sukshma Shariram, nor the Karana Shariram, I am nothing but this Brahman or Ishvara, where the Ahankara leaves behind the three bodies as Anatma and recognizes its Abheda with Ishvara. That is called as the Jiva Ishvara Abheda, which is indicated by this Chin Mudra or Jnana Mudra. Different people talk about this mudra in different ways, but this is the basic explanation of Chin Mudra. And we find that Dakshinamurti has this Chin Mudra as whatever his teaching is, indicating the teaching. What is Dakshinamurti teaching as the Adi Guru? Jiva Brahma Aikyam is being taught. This Jnana Mudra itself, Chin Mudra itself, is an indication of what is it that Lord Dakshinamurti is teaching his Shishyas. Therefore, though we may have different things held, Akshamala may be there in one hand, something else, Veena may be there in the other hand, so many other things may be there in the other three hands, but the right lower hand always has the Chin Mudra in any representation of Lord Dakshinamurti. So Acharya Indram, this exalted Acharya, always Karakalita in his hand, in one of the hands, shows this Chinmudram Ananda Rupam. His Chinmudra he is showing, and who is he? He is Ananda Rupa Brahma Atma. How do you make out that Dakshinamurti is Ananda Rupan? Swasmin Atmani Ramate. He is reveling in his own Ananda Swarupa Atma. That is why he is called Svatma Ramam Mudita Vadanam. He is reveling in his own Swa Atma Ananda. Dakshinamurti is expressing his Atma Ananda, that he is reveling in his Atmananda by his very appearance. And what is his appearance? Mudita Vadanam. He's smiling. That's what we saw. Even Krishna was smiling when Arjuna was ranting about his what will happen if he fights the war. Prahasan iva. That's what Krishna was doing, smiling. He gave this whole knowledge in such a situation like the war, smiling. So here also, here, what is the indication of a smile? That a person is reveling in his Atma Ananda Swarupam, which is manifesting on the face as a Smudita Vadanam. He's smiling. Svatma Ramam Mudita Vadanam Shri Dakshinamurtim Ide. So all these things, Dakshinamurtim Ide. I prostrate or offer my namaskaras to Lord Dakshinamurti, the Adi Guru, who is what? Who is communicating this Parabrahma Tattvam, who is reveling in his own Ananda Swarupa, manifesting the teaching by showing whatever he is going to teach in the form of Chinmudra, communicates this knowledge through Lakshana Vritti, Lakshana Vritti, and then who are the students, who are the the Vriddha Jivas. The rishis are in the form of the Vriddha Jivas, those who have come again and again and again. They are there to get free from this samsara, and they are the ones who are surrounding. So my namaskaras to Lord Dakshinamurti. The first dhyana shloka, and not only this dhyana shloka helps me in invoking the grace, but for my upasana, when I close my eyes and chant this verse, I can picture a picture of Lord Dakshinamurti as my upasya devata and ask for the blessings of this Dakshinamurti when I sit for my Vedanta listening for Shravanam, Mananam, Nividhyasanam. I can pray to Lord Dakshinamurti for this particular knowledge to become the truth for me. That is why there is a particular mantra called as Medha Dakshinamurti mantra, which is also chanted by those who are mumukshus and wanting this knowledge. Then, in the next verse, again, Lord Dakshinamurti is explained the way he looks. What does he say in the second verse? Vatavitapi samipe bhumi bhage nishannam sakala muni jananam jnanadataramarat tribhuvana gurumisham dakshinamurti devam जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि. Again, Dakshinamurtim Namami. Dakshinamurti Devam Namami. To that Lord Dakshinamurti, I offer my namaskaras. Who is he? Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Dakshaha. Last line. We did not take every time from the first line. We can take it from anywhere here. Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham Namami. Who's the Dakshinamurti? The one who's adept at freeing me from the cycles of Janana Marana Dukkha. Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda, the one who can completely destroy the cycles of coming back again and again into Janma and Marana. Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham. Daksha means he is absolutely, the one who is most capable of completely cutting off this cycle of births and death. To such a Dakshinamurti Devam, to this Dakshinamurti Namami. And where is he sitting? What is he doing in this particular form of Dakshinamurti? Vatavitapi Samipe. Vatavita, banyan tree. He's sitting near a banyan tree, Samipe. Vatavitapi Samipe. He's sitting near a banyan tree where Bhumi Bhage Nishannam. Nishannam means sitting. Bhumi Bhage, on the floor, under a banyan tree, he's sitting. He's sitting under a banyan tree. So, Vatavitapi Samipe Bhumi Bhage Nishannam. This Daksha or this Dakshinamurti, who is capable of breaking the millions of cycles of death and birth that I have gone through, where is he sitting? Vatavitapi Samipe Bhumi Bhage Nishannam. Nishannam means sitting. Bhumi Bhage on the earth. Vatavitapi Samipe close to a Vatavriksha. Vatavitapi. Here it means banyan tree. And what is he doing? Sakala Muni Jananam Jnana Dataram Arat. Sakala Muni Jananam Jnana Dataram. All the Munijanas who is sitting. There are different depictions again in the pictorial and in the sculptural depictions of Lord Dakshinamurti. In some, it is said that only Sanakadi four, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanat, Sujata, Sanat Kumara, the four Sanakas were the ones who were the disciples of Dakshinamurti. But in other depictions, it is shown that there were other rishis also, like Vishwamitra, Pippalada, etc., are also shown. It doesn't matter. We only know that all these Jnana Vriddha, Tapo Vriddha, Brahmanishta rishis went to the Adi Guru for this knowledge. Where else will those rishis get this knowledge from? Only from Adi Guru. And then those rishis transferred this knowledge paramparataya to their shishyas and their shishyas and their shishyas and their shishyas, and they went on like that till it comes to me or the one who is listening. So Sakala Muni Jananam Jnana Dataram. What Jnana Dataram? Brahma Jnana Dataram. He has given this knowledge, Ishvara Jiva Aikyam, which is called as Atmajnanam or Brahmajnanam, Jnana Dataram Arat. Arat means what? Without interference of anything. Without interference of anything. Immediately. As it is, where it is, immediately. Arat also means from a distance also. Jnana Dataram Arat. He is capable of giving this knowledge through the Guru Parampara from a distance also. But to these munis who are surrounding him under the Vatavriksha, what did he do? He gave this knowledge, immediate knowledge, immediately, directly through the Lakshana Vritti was given to these people. And who is he? Tribhuvana Guru Misham. This Dakshinamurti is none other than Tribhuvana Guru Isham. He is the Guru of all the three worlds. Tribhuvana Guru Isham. Isham, he is none other than Ishvara, the manifestation of Ishvara. Who's Daksha, who's capable, who's an expert. Daksha means an expert in giving out this particular knowledge. To that Dakshinamurti, Dakshinamurti Devam Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham Namami. Again, a verse of prayer, a verse of Dhyana Shloka prayer for Upasana, for Japa, to start my class or to start my study of Vedanta with this, then I am remembering the Adi Guru. Through my present Guru, I am remembering the Adi Guru. The next verse, again, Dhyana Shloka only. Chitram Vatatarormule Vriddha Shishya Gurur Yuva Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam Shishyastu Chinna Samshayaha. This is a repetition of the first Dhyana Shloka itself. So we did not spend much time with this. He says, Chitram Vatataror Mule. Chitram means what? It is a Vichitra sight. Chitram. It is a strange sight. It is a very, very rare sight, a strange sight. Chitram. Where? Vatataror Mule. Under the banyan tree, Vatataror Mule. What kind of a Vichitra sight is this? What kind of an extraordinary scene is this? Vriddha Shishyaha Gurur Yuvaha. As I already explained, what is meant by a Vriddha? Vriddha Shishyaha. All the Shishyas are old. They can be Vayovriddhas, Tapovriddhas, Jnanavriddhas. They are ultimately Jivas, because of which they are millions and millions of years old. How old are all of us? We are all millions of years old because we have come again and again and again. Whereas who is this Guru? He is nothing but that Brahman, that consciousness, that Shiva Tattva, which has manifested in a form only to give this knowledge authentically. That is why, since this knowledge has come from the Adi Guru Dakshinamurti, it is considered to be the most authentic knowledge. Paravidya, the most authentic, the highest knowledge which has come from the Lord Himself, from Brahman, from Ishvara Himself. And again, Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam. Guroho tu. For the Guru, it is Maunam Vyakhyanam means he is explaining this Paravidya or Brahmavidya Lakshana Vritya, not by regular way of teaching. That is why teaching of the local vidyas, Laukika vidyas, and teaching of Brahma Vidya are entirely different. The pramanas used, the instruments of knowledge are different. The way the knowledge is communicated is different. The methodologies used are different. The modules of teaching used are different. So, Maunam Vyakhyanam here means it has been expressed in the way it should be explained. Brahma Vidya in the form of nothing other than Lakshana Vritya Prakatikaranam. That is what has done. And with this explanation, what happened? Shishyaha tu Chinna Samshayaha. No doubts remained in the minds of the Shishyas. Why? Because they are Brahmanishtas. They are already prepared intellects. That's why Dakshinamurti has to directly come. For all these Sanaka, Sanandana, these Sanat Kumaras and other rishis who are already fully prepared for this knowledge through enough of tapas, enough of upasana, enough of Saguna Ishvara upasana, who else can teach except Lord Himself, Ishvara Himself coming in the form of Dakshinamurti? So, Shishyastu Chinna Samshaya. Imagine Dakshinamurti as the Guru and all these Vriddha Shishyaha, Brahmanishtaha Shishyaha are the Shishyas. What kind of a knowledge must have passed through. And can there be any doubt remaining in the minds of these Shishas? Shishyaha tu chinna samshaya. Then the next verse says again, Nidhaye sarva vidyanam bhishaje bhavaroginam gurave sarva lokanam dakshinamurtaye namaha. Again my prostrations and namaskaras to Lord Dakshinamurti. Nidhaye sarva vidyanam. He is the repository or nidhi of all the vidyas. Aparavidya and Paravidya. That is why, if you closely observe the pictorial representation of Dakshinamurti in the pictures, the pustaka that Lord Dakshinamurti is holding in the left lower hand, it shows two parts. It is two parts. It shows two leaves. It shows two leaves. You can say, you may ask a question, where there was there paper when Dakshinamurti was sitting? No, it's a pictorial representation, symbolic. That's all. You can take it as those palm leaves also, if you don't want to take it as paper. But that pustaka, it shows two leaves. One is said to be Paravidya, one is said to be Aparavidya. So he is a repository of all kinds of knowledge. All the Laukika Vidyas also, he is a person who is a expert in Para and Apara Vidya. Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam Bhishaje Bhavaroginam. He is the very doctor. Bhishaje, Bhishaj means a doctor. Bhavaroga. All of us are suffering from Bhavaroga. No regular doctor can take me out of Bhavaroga. A doctor can help me from Sharirika Rogas and probably Manasika Rogas. But the Bhavaroga, which is the Roga of the Jiva, Jivatvam, cannot be removed by any doctor except a Brahma Vidya Guru. Only a Brahma Vidya Guru can remove this disease called as my Jivatvam. Therefore, Bhishaje Bhavaroginam, He Dakshinamurtaye, He Bhishaje Sarva Roganam, Bhishaje Namaha, Sarva Vidyanam Nidhaye Namaha. I prostrate you who is a nidhi, repository of all the vidyas. You are the one who can completely cure my Bhavaroga, my roga of coming back again and again into this samsara. Gurave Sarvalokanam. Hey Dakshinamurti, you are the Guru of all the lokas. Gurave Sarvalokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. All these are the way of glorifying or stuti of Dakshinamurti. By stuti, we are trying to build a particular type of a idea about this deity for the purpose of puja, for the purpose of upasana and japa. Then, Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha-Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. The fifth verse. Om Namah Pranavarthaya. O Dakshinamurti, you as that very consciousness, but of course now manifested in the form of a human form of a guru. You are the meaning of Omkara. Pranava means Omkara. Prakarshena nuyate iti pranavaha. The one which very clearly, distinctly directs. I have given this explanation in Kathopanishad in the explanation of the Omkara Vichara when Lord Yama talks to Nachiketa on Omkara Upasana and Omkara Vichara as Saguna Ishvara Upasana and Nirguna Brahma Vichara. So he says here in this, it is said that Pranava Artha, Hey Dakshinamurti Lord, you are the very meaning of Omkara. The Saguna Ishvara represented by the U and Ma matras are you. And the amatra or the silent fourth matra is also you. So pranava arthaya shuddha jnana ekamurtaye. Shuddha jnana murti. You are nothing but that jnanam, brahma jnanam, that knowledge, that atma, but manifesting yourself in this form for out of compassion for the shishyas, out of the need to give this vidya to the others. You have manifested yourself as this, but you are in effect Shuddha Jnanaika Rupa, Nuchiddha Jnanaika Swarupa. You are the Jnana Murti. You are nothing but the very, knowledge itself. The very knowledge itself in the form of that very Brahma Jnanam itself. Nirmalaya, ever pure consciousness you are. Prashantaya, absolutely Shantam. Nirmala means what? Asangaha, not affected by anything. Therefore, you are Nirmala. You are Shuddha Chaitanya. Shuddha Jnanakamurte. Shuddha Chaitanya. Atma Rupa you are. And therefore, you are Prashanta. There is no any kind of waves, there is no disturbance. Absolutely Shanta Swarupa, Atma Swarupa you are. To that Shanta Swarupa Dakshinamurti, my namaskaras. Of course, there are many other, there are many people have added their different dhyana shlokas, but the most important six are these. The last one, we also chant in our regular initial Sabha Prarambha Prarthana also we chant this. So, Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. So, you this consciousness, Hey Dakshinamurti, you are this undivided, indivisible, Shuddha Jnana Rupa you are. But then, to give this teaching, you have manifested yourself in the form of Ishvara also, Guru also, and the Shishya also. What is that Ishvara or Brahman? The subject about which you are going to talk. The Jnanam about that Brahman, that also you are. That is the prameya. That is whatever we are supposed to know through this Brahma Jnana. That Brahman also is you. The teacher also is you. Guru also is you. And the Shishya also is you. One consciousness you. Ishvaraha Guruhu Atma iti Murti Bheda Vibhagine. You have manifested in this threefold manner for the purpose of teaching. You are that consciousness about which you are going to talk about. You are that guru who is going to talk about this very thing. And you are that shishya also. It is the same consciousness. And that is true. It is the same consciousness in me, in Guru, and also that Brahman or Ishvara which is being talked about by Brahma Vidya. And that is what I have to know in Brahma Vidya. That the division of Guru, Shishya, and the Prameyam Brahma, which is being talked about, the Jnata, Jnanam, and Neyam, is nothing but a kind of a superficial division. The Guru is also Atma Swarupa. The Shishya is also the same Atma Swarupa. That which is talked about is nothing but that Atma. So Ishvara Guruhu Atma iti Murti Bheda Vibhagine. You have manifested yourself into these three forms, but you are that one consciousness. Like light which passes through a prism manifests itself in seven colors, but then it's not seven colors, it's arising from one white light is manifesting as that. One Bimba Chaitanya, Bimba face is manifesting as many pratibimba faces like that, you, that Bimba Chaitanya Dakshinamurti, for the sake of giving this knowledge in this particular context you are teaching, you are that consciousness which has manifested as the Guru Dakshinamurti, as the Sanakadi Shishyas, and also that about which you are going to talk about Mauna Vyakhya. Through this Chinmudra and through this Maunam Vyakhyanam Lakshana Vritti Swarupena, what is this knowledge? That is also you. Therefore, Vishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya. But who are you? Your entire body is nothing but this consciousness, Vyomavat, like space. You, this Atma, you, this consciousness, is manifesting in everything in this Jagat. So, Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. So, my namaskaras to you, this Dakshinamurti, who is nothing but that Shuddha Chaitanya Jnana Swarupi Atma. But now, for the sake of this teaching, you are the teacher who is appearing in the form of my Guru, and you are yourself manifesting as me, the Shishya. And whatever the Guru is going to convey to me is nothing but you yourself, this consciousness Swarupam. So Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine. You have divided yourself or manifested yourself into these divisions. But the divisions are not real. They are only Vyavaharika for the purpose of giving out this knowledge. Ultimately, the Guru, the subject which is talked about, and the Shishya are nothing but that one consciousness. Hey Guru Dakshinamurti, to that consciousness you, my namaskaras. These are the 6 Dhyana shlokas that are normally taken as offering our namaskaras and trying to log ourselves into the mode of the teaching of Dakshinamurti. And then the actual teaching of Dakshinamurti-stotram begins, written by Adi Shankaracharya, which, because of the lack of time today, we hardly have about 2 minutes. We'll start it from the next session. And next session onwards also, probably I'll be going quite slowly. And there are many aspects from which each shloka can be explained. There are many aspects. Different gurus may explain each sloka from a different point of view. But then I'm going to talk the way I have been taught by my Vedanta gurus. That is how I will be explaining the way every verse, the way it is explained by Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye, the way it has been received by me from my gurus. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तत्सत्